So in today's video I wanted to talk about individuality, more so specifically about our hobbies and interests. The reason why it's something that I wanted to discuss today was kind of looking around my own little circle, I guess. There's a lot of people that kind of end up doing the same things, and it made me question if that's really what they want to do. It sounds strange, but hear me out for a sec. With, I suppose, like being at work and seeing what other people do and perhaps seeing what other people wear, especially in like a visual sense, we all kind of look the same, which then made me wonder, is that really what people want to wear? And then when you start to speak to them and ask what they did on the weekend, they all start to sound the same, whether that's just to watch TV or to go to the pub or to go to a nightclub if it's not a pub, to get a takeout. It's kind of like the substandard of what majority of people do. But I always questioned that when we were kids, probably a long time ago now, that we did a lot more things, and I think we explored a lot more areas, even if it's just like after school activities. And for me, I did a lot of netball and badminton. I'm sure maybe if there was chess club, people were doing chess, and others it might have been like a musical instrument. But I get the sense that as we get older, we don't really pursue anything anymore, and even when we pursue those things, I feel like they're just kind of normalised by society, and I feel like there's a certain amount of like pressure to just fit in. So, you know, if you were to take up some really random sport, I've heard of, is it splunking? I think that's like rock climbing in like caves. I'm not sure, let's not use that one. Let's say like scuba diving, right? That's not like a common one. Not to say it's like frowned upon and it's disliked, but it's not really majority accepted because no one really does it. And I think for that it's not really encouraged, and we're not like praised to try out new things, whether that was to, you know, I don't want to say something sports, because I think sports is always kind of admired upon, and I think people see it as like fitness, but I think that's sometimes tunneled into like looking better and trying to lose weight, so people really champion sports. But you know, if it was like a really niche sport like rock climbing or like in the caves, let's say, you don't really get a lot of that, and it makes me kind of reflect and think, are people actually doing things that they want to do, or are they just doing it because everybody else is doing it? Because to go against the flow is sometimes a little bit harder, not only just to like adopt a new practice and to like try out new sports. I think even just like mentally, as we get older, we get a bit more rigid in our thinking. We become sometimes, I don't want to say cynical, but we become a bit harder, you know, we become a little bit more stronger with our opinions and views, very stubborn, unforgiving, become like an old thing that just doesn't want to budge, kind of like an old oak tree, just really rooted down. But if you can imagine, when we were young, we really just floated around and we tried a lot of things. We were forgiving to others, forgiving to ourselves, we were kind, we're patient as anything, and we didn't really hate ourselves if we failed at something. We would just try again. And I think that really is the key to finding yourself and getting that individuality back. Because like I mentioned, there's a lot of people that I could probably funnel in and just say that's what they do, but really, is that what they want to do? As for myself, it's only in the recent years or so that I kind of thought back to what I was doing as a child and what I liked. And I really liked playing dress up, and I think in the past year or so I've really paid attention to that and just had more fun, you know, tried different looks, had more fun with my clothes, and it's made me at least a little bit happy, because I feel like deep down that's something that I always wanted to do. I always really loved Japanese anime, so most recently I've been watching more things like that on my shows and looking back at childhood films that made me happy, just kind of reliving part of that, I don't want to say like identity, but your own DNA. Not everybody is the same, so I find it probably crazy that like even next door, if you were to ask that person, oh, what are you interested in, what do you do, it shouldn't really be the same thing. And even if like we say interests, I think people don't physically actually go out and do those things when we say interests. Like, I might be interested in tennis, but it doesn't mean that I go out and play tennis every day. So I suppose the bigger question is, what are you doing on the weekend? Like, what do you do in your spare time? And you can't make up and say you do tennis when you don't. And that's really the truth, isn't it? The factor of it all, the reality that like, oh yeah, I do just like sit at home and I like just go on social media, I like watch whatever's on TV, oh yeah, I saw that show because it was advertised, oh it looks good. Everything is just kind of given to us, and there's no sort of like driven like, I was going to say like motor, like a thing that's driving us towards finding what we actually like. So I think one of the main keys is just to question your day to day and to see if you can fit in any time. And I guess in a more like sensitive side, like just kind of ask yourself on what it is that you actually enjoy, and what did you enjoy when you were a kid, and could you start doing more of it? I think some of us don't even give us the time to really reflect on things like that anymore, and I think it gets difficult. And I also think that's probably why, particularly more so men than I think women, because I think women tend to be a bit more emotionally intertwined with their feelings, and it's more accepted to talk about them. Whereas with a lot of men, they're not really allowed, or it's not really seen that they talk about what they enjoy. So if they were, for example, suppressing perhaps some of the interests that they wanted to get into and felt like they couldn't, that can also, you know, cause a lot of chaos as well as like stress in their day to day. So I think it's important to really take that time to figure out and question, even if you think that perhaps watching TV is fine if that is something you absolutely want to do, but question, you know, what your actual interests are. It can't just be shopping, and it can't just be going out to pubs. There's probably something more, and that's something I would love to leave behind for you to think about. So if you really enjoy this video, give it a thumbs up, and obviously if you want to comment on what some of your interests are, absolutely welcome, and I'll see you in the next one.